G'day YouTube. Today I wanted to talk about how I managed to get better grades working full-time and studying full-time versus when I was purely studying full-time. So, bit of background. I did a Bachelor of Engineering and Econ in my undergrad. This was back before 2023. That was when I was just purely studying as a student. And then recently this year I decided to complete my first semester of my Masters in Financial Mathematics. And I did that while maintaining a full-time job as well. So I wanted to share with you guys today my general strategy, my general mindset shift in the way that I view universities, as well as share how I went. So to get started, the grades I got back for the last semester, they were 2 distinctions and a pass. So I know that's probably, to some of you guys in the audience, that's probably rookie or non-genius numbers. So I'm sure you guys there are some very intelligent people in the watching this who are expecting me to say that I got straight top marks, but that just didn't happen. But I did do this while maintaining a full-time job, and my performance was actually better than some of the semesters in my undergrad where I was purely studying full-time and not working full-time. Right? So I think what I'll share in this video will still be applicable regardless of whoever is watching. So let's get into it. So I guess the biggest shift for me when it came to viewing university is efficiency. I have recently learned, and the way that I look at university now is that you are there to perform, you're not there to learn, which is actually contradictory to a lot of what everyone at uni will tell you, right? So typically, your university professors will tell you that if you come to class, if you come to all of the tutorials, watch all of the lectures, right, you will do really well. And theoretically, if you come to all the classes, you'll see and know everything, right? But then if you just do the math of it, right, so let's just say, let's ignore any other class except for lectures. If you're doing a full-time load, which is typically around 3 to 4 subjects, right, and one typical course will have 2 hours, a lecture every week. So that is probably 24 hours for one course, right? You can multiply that across 4 and you can see that is a very large number. And then you ask yourself, when was the last time you remembered anything of that length, right? Like whether it's a movie you watched, whether it's a documentary that you enjoy of your own accord, not course, you probably only watched maybe about like an hour or 2, right? And most is what you would remember. But there's this expectation in university that students have to remember everything that they interact with, which is just impossible. It's ludicrous. And so what they tell you is that, if you come to all the classes, when all the assessment pieces come around, you will perform. But this is just not necessarily true. What you have to do, and this is what I did, was I started with the assessments now at first. So everything about the course, to me, I was assessment obsessed. So typically what a lot of these subjects do is they will have about 2 in-term pieces of assessment. They might be a mid-semester exam, there might be an assignment, and then they will have a large final exam, right? And typically that large final exam is actually the thing that determines your grades, right? It's a 2-hour-long exam, maybe more for different places around the world, but in my university this was the case. And really, these exams, particularly if they have hurdle rates as well, that 2 hours will literally determine your entire semester, right? Which is not what lecturers or anyone will ever tell you. They will be content orientated, they'll walk you through the lectures, but they'll never tell you to read between the lines when it comes to that. And so my strategy was that I would essentially look up all of the past exams, many exams as I could get my hands on, right? And start studying for those assessment pieces way earlier than when you get your exam block time to do so. And it would come at the sacrifice of going to lectures and going to tutorials. So in this semester that I recently completed, I didn't go to a single class in person, and then maybe only watch 2 lectures, right? To someone watching that who goes to uni every day, that sounds stupid, but actually I want to make the argument that I actually think that taking my time and viewing my time as valuable and asking the question of how is this going to help me perform better led to me to perform better than just blindly accepting classes and tutorials which take up hours of your time, right? So that was essentially my approach. And so what I did was, I would go to work in my full-time hours, come home and simply just try to smash out all of the assignments, practice for all of the exams, and use everything given in the course, so lecture content or tutorial content, as a reference guide as to how I can answer those exam pieces or assessment pieces, rather than going through week by week trying to absorb everything and then applying it. I started with the application first and then found all the information that I needed to be able to do well on this exam, and then practice that process over and over again. And lectures will never tell you to do this, right? But if you actually read between the lines, they actually do, because they might not say it verbally, but they know that this is actually the best way to get the best marks. Because lecturers themselves, what they will do is they will reuse the same, first of all, they'll reuse the same PowerPoint slides for all of their lectures from the previous years, right? They don't want to reinvent the wheel. Because how much time would that take? And then they also don't tell you that they will most likely have a bank of exam questions which they will just recycle through. And some colleges, I never went to college, but they'll actually have printouts of years of exams for that one course that may not be available to students online, right? And I know that might be slightly different for universities that don't release previous year's final assessments, so I can't really speak on that. But I know that, like, at least with my university and a couple of the other ones and a couple of the other students I've talked to, they do release those previous year's final exams. And the reason why lectures do this is because, one, they don't want to reinvent the wheel, and two, they're lazy. So, sorry, the same thing. And two, their job is to focus on their research. It's not necessarily to focus on their teaching. And the other reason is that their job when it comes to teaching is to actually maintain a normal distribution of grades. What that means is that they are more focused on having all of the students sit at a particular mark, So that might be just a pass, it might be a bit over, and depending on how well students have done the previous year, or even on assessment pieces in the middle of the semester, they will adjust how hard that final exam is. So if they perform worse, they'll make the exam easier. If they perform better, they'll make the exam harder, right? And so when you really clue on to this, you really start to realize that going to uni, at least for like STEM subjects and financial mathematics or even finance, whatever, those kinds of grade, like those subjects where people really care about their grades, right, for industry, they will essentially make these courses not necessarily a place to learn, but a place to play a game, right, to perform. And when you clue on to this, you can really shortcut a lot of the unnecessary time spent stressing and learning and trying to remember all of these things which are probably irrelevant to pass the assessments and will probably even hurt your chances of doing well, because you waste time on them rather than spending your time on practice and performance. And I guess that's just my thoughts on the matter. And so the courses I did were, first of all, one was, because you guys might be thinking, okay, engineering is probably harder than finance or financial math. And I would probably say that for the courses I did this semester, one of them was computation and financial mathematics. So that was hardcore stochastic differential equations. And then the other two were pretty rigorous corporate finance and accounting courses. So they had their own level of difficulty in which you had to deal with. And this strategy which I implemented, I think really performed well for me. And if I tried to watch lectures and try to do uni on hard mode, I don't think I would have passed. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the matter. If you guys have had any similar insights, if you think I'm speaking rubbish, let me know down in the comments below. And if you found this video useful, please like and subscribe. Cheers, peace out.